heard from Kingwood. Woo! Y'all use your reactions, okay? And shout out to Aaliyah Coral from downtown. Okay, Miss Tidwell and I chose to spotlight you all because you've done so well this semester. And that's not to shortchange anyone, but we want you to know that we really appreciate the work that you've done. All right, let those reactions fly in the chat. And then, of course, there are tons of student recognitions, Kingwood, downtown alike. I'm sure you might see your name, so just take advantage of that. People thought enough of you to recognize you. And then, of course, we have our faculty members who you all decided were worth the nomination. So again, thank you for your participation. Tan, we can go back to the slideshow. I just want y'all to have a sneak peek at that so that you can know what it is, and go back and look at it if you haven't done so already. Again, for anybody who's joined us, thank you for joining. This is PD4. Those of you going into PD4 student teaching, if you're in another PD for the fall, then you should join us tomorrow. Otherwise, again, this is rather informal, very welcome, very welcome. You are able to unmute yourself and ask a question. Do not be shy. I guarantee you're probably not the only one. Okay, let's go on, Ms. Tidwell. All right, so here it is. We sent y'all a survey. We asked, y'all said, we did. So I'm gonna tell you right now that this whole presentation is catered around the questions that you all asked. Not to worry, nobody was identified in their questions. They are anonymous. But if you find yourself needing to elaborate more, feel free to do so, okay? Moving on. All right, so let's talk about it. What I will say is that there are 10 things that I was able to kind of glean from all of the questions. Hey, we had 86 responses, so thank y'all for showing up and showing out and doing what you need to do. So I organized this presentation according to y'all's questions, and we're gonna go ahead and get into it. I don't even need to read all of that because we're gonna cover it. All right, I need to give this disclaimer, okay? Because this orientation is exclusively focused on your exams. And a lot of the questions that came to us had to do with placement, had to do with districts and things that all relate to the PDs. So please know that those questions should be directed to Dr. Brown, and you can email her. But before you do, she and I spoke just a few moments before this orientation. She sends her apologies for not being able to join us. She does want me to tell you all that more information is coming to you all as your official grades post into our system. So you might be able to see your grades in Blackboard, but they are not posted for everyone like advisors and people in the department to see yet. So you're not officially teacher candidates until your passing grades have posted, okay? And then you will receive more information about placement as the summer unfolds. So please be checking your email from her because she is good about communicating with you all when she does. And then also she wanted me to say that, look, and it was the perfect plug. She said, hey, her job is to connect. She gets constant calls from various districts all the time, wanting to know who's ready to come and teach, who's ready to be certified and teach. And she says that it makes her job so much easier when students have taken their exams, or maybe they only have one exam left to take. And she can say, hey, I've got this amount of students, I got this person in your particular district, and yes, I want to refer such and such. So that was her plug for this. And she also wanted me to let you know that if you haven't gotten a district assignment, do not fret. There's nothing you need to do. That some districts work a little bit faster than others, and then in like manner, some work slower. So just be patient with the process. She guarantees everybody will get taken care of. But anything beyond that, yes, please feel free to email her. I hope you have your phone or you're on your computer and you're taking screenshots as you need to, okay? And we will send this out as a PDF later. Moving right along. Again, interrupt if you need to. Getting into those first questions. Y'all want to know. It's like, hey, when do we apply for graduation? And will Pathways really pay for our graduation regalia? All right, let's answer it. Screenshot if you want to, but PD4 students will start applying for graduation on July 16th. This comes directly from our website, okay? The College of Public Service for fall 2021, you see there's a window. I don't want you to look at that September. Okay, we're going to focus more on the July because we want y'all to get those applications in, and more information will come to you from Ms. Tidwell and myself as you know when that needs to happen, anything additional that you might need to take care of. Okay, so just know that it's not time to apply yet. If you try and do it, it won't work. Okay, but it is coming up in July on the 16th. Moving right along. Pathways payment. So here it is. All TEKS, however you want to say it, TExES, I like to say, TExES exams must be taken and passed before Pathways will pay for your regalia. Now, keep this in mind as you plan to take graduation pictures, right? Because everybody likes to take their pictures and send out the invitations well before it's actually time to walk. And so you can't even do that. If you're looking for us to pay for your regalia, and Denise, interrupt at any time, go ahead and start saying, hey, I need to do this, I need to do this. Now, y'all being in, you know, PD4, I know that the department has given you this grace, so to speak, where you could go ahead and apply to PD4 and you will be able to make it through. But again, it's a give and take, and I'm not trying to get ahead of myself, but just keep in mind that you can, it is attainable, all right? And then also keep in mind our rule of having to have taken and passed all of your exams for regalia purposes as the deadline approaches to purchase the regalia. So you might be surprised to know, and I know Ms. McGrew is on the call too, but there is a deadline, right, that you to purchase your regalia, if I'm not mistaken. And so some students are like, but I'm waiting on my test results. I'm sorry, we can't be waiting on them. We have to actually have them. Okay, so if any of my Pathways people want to jump in at any given time, feel free. Or Dr. Lance, whatever.
I have a question.
Come on, Alicia.
So, what if you're like trying to pass the exams? Like, I know I'm struggling so much with these exams. Like, I've been trying to take them. I still don't pass them, And, you know, I mean, you guys can see that I'm trying to take these exams, like, you know, but we have to have them passed in order to get our graduation gala, because like I'm trying to take my exams and get them passed, but I just don't know if that's possible.
Thank you for your question, Alicia. I do appreciate you for asking it. I guarantee other people have the same question in mind. They might not have asked it, but the reality is that yes, they do need to be taken and passed. It's not inconceivable for that to happen. In fact, our inaugural group of Pathway students who graduated, the majority of them were able to take and pass their exams, only having 3 PDs, just like you all. So just keep in mind that that is possible. It is attainable. It is achievable. And then also one of the merits of, you know, in our program, and then also Denise is saying something in the chat, so please pay attention to that. But before I lose my train of thought, I'm sorry, is to your question, Alicia, that when it comes to the regalia and the fact that it is attainable, it is achievable, but with Pathways, you know, one of the things that we show is that our students, you know, are in fact the ones who are doing better than the general UE population. So that's why we're making sure that we're equipping you with all these additional resources, making sure you're knowledgeable and have everything at your fingertips to hopefully see you through the other side of that exam, which we are hopefully anticipating is success. So thank you for that question. Ms. Tidwell, we're going to move on. All right, so I had this question come up. It's like, can I just be real? What is TExES? What does it stand for? It's the Texas Examinations of Educator Standards. So that's where it comes from. Now, there's a couple of interchangeable words that you'll hear floating around between yourselves or even people in the urban education department. And you'll hear us float between test and exam, okay? So I gave you some definitions, but when you're referring to your TExES exams, okay, what you see, you can call it a test, you can call it an exam, it's the same thing. Same thing when you talk about core and when you talk about content, same thing. So sometimes you might say, oh, I need to take my content exam or I need to take my core exam. You're still referring to the same thing, or if you hear us say that. Now we'll get into some more details as we go, but I just need that in your mind in case you see you get different emails and they say one thing, or maybe they have the same words listed and you're like, is this the same thing? It is the same thing. It's quiet, so I'm gonna move on. All right, so Dr. Lamb has joined us, and she's going to help me tag team some of these questions. Okay, so when it comes to certification, somebody asked, well, what exams do I need to take, and which exams are recommended to start taking first? And that's actually an important question. Tan, you can go to the next slide, because there are several of you in PD4 with no exam attempts. A lot of you have one attempt, and some of you have more than two. So let's get into it, okay? So you'll notice that whether you're following EC6 ESL, 4 through 8 ESL, EC6 Bilingual, or EC6 SPED, there are 3 exams that are unique to everybody, okay? Core subjects, PPR, and STR, okay? So just know that everybody has to take those 3. Then it starts getting into, differences as you get into your particular program, okay? So find where you are, take a picture if need be, and you'll see the exams you have to take. Please note that when it comes to the core, there are typically 5 sections. It's 4 through 8 ESL, and there's a little star there, which means I'm going to defer to Dr. Lamb for that justification.
Well, the justification is that the core subjects 4 through 8 only has 4 sections. So it has the English, math, science, and social studies only. It does not have a fine arts section when it comes to the 4 through 8 grades.
Okay, thank you.
I have a quick question. Every time I go to you guys' website to make sure I have the right stay guide, because you know how at the test that there's 3 numbers you have to know to get the right stay guide.
Oh, study guide?
Like when the test is like 9, like 2, 9, 1, for example.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, web page does not say those numbers. So when we go to purchase stuff online for us to study, we don't know if we got the right one or not without those numbers ahead of time.
Okay, I'm trying to think if the answer to your question comes up later in our presentation, which I'm thinking it will, Dr. Lamb.
If you guys can add that to you guys' PDFs for future reference for the students and us, so it can help us when we download those.
So, Shaylin, are you asking specifically, like, for instance, when it comes to taking the core subjects, you would take core subjects 391?
Yeah,
okay. I appreciate you for bringing that up. I'd actually considered doing that and I did not. So a note to self to go with your first mind, right? So that's something that we can include when it comes to which particular exam do you take. And we'll show you that in a minute. We'll have a hands-on opportunity for everybody to follow along and you'll get to see that. So thank you for bringing that up, Shaylin.
Okay.
All right, let's move on. I appreciate y'all for interrupting and asking questions. Don't be scared. Now, when it comes to like, when do I take my exams? Okay, this is the roadmap that the Department of Urban Education created. So this is the ideal way for you to take your exams. So I'm going to let Dr. Lamb discuss this briefly.
So when you're admitted into the program, you get an email from myself, which tells you your next steps, which will be to make sure that your TEA account has been activated, and then which exams can you go ahead and start taking. So once you first get admitted, you're able to go ahead and take your core subjects EC6. The reason why it was never put on there 291 versus 391 is because initially everyone took the 291. But the 391 came on the scene in January. So now if you have never taken an exam, which is the core subjects EC6, everyone is taking the 391. So if you have not started testing with the core subjects EC6 exam previously and you have not passed it, then you will be taking the 391 and that should be the materials that you would download for your preparation. So once you get admitted, you'll take the core exam. And if you're a bilingual candidate, you will take the Bilingual Ed Supplemental that same semester. The next semester, you'll take either ESL Supplemental or the BTEL PT. And then as you're going into PD3, you will be taking the PPR. And if you're a SPED, then you'll be taking the Special Education EC through 12, or you'll be taking the Science of Teaching and Reading. So for those exams are the exams that are required for you to take and pass before you can get certified.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions on this? I'm kind of gonna just let y'all kind of interrupt after we finish speaking before we move on. but just know that there is more coming. All right, I will take that as keep going. Here's another question from y'all. 3, okay? And they all pertain to study. So will there be any study sessions before taking the exams? What is the most effective way to study for these exams? And finally, are there study resources for the content exam, also known as core subjects? Yes, Sharika, thank you for pointing that out. I will bring that up when we talk about STR, but Sharika is pointing out, she's giving away some of my goodies. Okay, keep them in the jar, ma'am. That there is a higher cost for the STR as opposed to all of the other exams, which are typically $116. And so I will let her speak on that because she is definitely our numbers expert when it comes to these things in a minute. So ma'am, get ready. So to answer these questions, let's go to the next slide. I want to know about study. Okay, so the answer is yes, okay. The urban education department supplies a list of particular resources, and all of these that you see here are things that you have access to. And the next page will show us where you can find them. Okay, so we will send you these links, but it's all on the UE website. It's under, it's on Dr. Lamb's page with certification, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, and it was also given to you when you first got admitted into the program. So that was part of that email as well. That was that introductory congratulations email. It was found listed on that in that particular email, or it was attached as a document. But you have this already available at your fingertips.
And so just to add on, this little document that you see is the exact document that you did receive. It's the exact document on the website. And you'll see that it's broken down. Like you see the core broken down into each of its areas. So history, math, science, social studies. So it's right there for you all. So do take advantage of that, okay? That's just.
But you should also notice that when it's broken down in those content areas, that's for the secondary candidates. So it says history.
Oh, no. 7 through 12.
7 through 12, science 7 through 12, but it does have the PPR EC 12. It has not been updated with the STR because we'll discuss the STR in a little bit. But when this document was originally created, the STR was not on the scene yet.
Okay, that's why I need my glasses. It does say 7 through 12 there, but yes, okay. Again, though, still good resources for you all. And also on the newsletter, which we showed you all, additional resources, and there's more. But we'll move on, because we're still answering these questions. So the question is, what classes prepare us for what exams? Somebody wants to know, do we feel like the classes we're taking don't even help us? They don't get us ready. Well, the truth is that they do. So let's see what that is. So I actually think I'm going to let Dr. Lamb take this slide, but everybody should have a class on here.
So what the classes are is for ESL students and for SPED, which is EC6 ESL, 4 through 8 ESL. And for the SPED students, they all have to take the ESL supplemental. So the ESL supplemental, you receive preparation for the ESL supplemental by taking ESL 3303 and BED 3311. For the bilingual candidates, BED 3311 by itself prepares you for the bilingual ed supplemental. So as a bilingual candidate, you cannot take the ESL supplemental 2, even though you have ESL classmates in your class. It just prepares you for your supplemental itself. BED 3307 prepares you for the BTL PT. When you were enrolled in PD2 in the fall, you took PED 3305, and that class prepared you for the PPR EC12. Your SPED candidates, all of your SPED classes prepare you for the Special Education EC12 exam. And then your core classes, which is the classes that you took as a freshman and sophomore, which will be your English, math, science, social studies, and your fine arts. Some of you may have taken a music class or an art class or a theater class or even PE. That prepares you for the fine arts section of the core EC6. Now, when we discuss that, we also have to make sure that that's the reason why we tell you to take the core first. because you completed all of that coursework right as you were getting admitted into the program. So that information is actually more fresh on your mind than anything else would ever be. And that's the reason why we want you to take that exam first.
Thank you, Dr. Lamb. So it kind of makes you say, oh, let me keep all of my books, you know what I'm saying, and all of my notes from these classes. When I was an undergrad, granted, I wasn't doing y'all's program. It was like, oh, let me sell this book back and get my money. But in y'all's case, you better keep those books, perhaps, if it's possible, and keep all your notes and everything that you've done so that you can definitely help add to the preparation you need for these exams. It's quiet, so I'll take it as we can move on. All right. Oh, yep. Thank you, Denise. Check out the chat. She says it also helps you with future lesson plans. All right, so here we go. We're getting into these STR questions. So why can't we take the STR until PD3, which y'all have just come out of? How will we be prepared to take the STR? And then another good question, what's the difference between the STR and the core exam? I know that's come up a lot, so let's get into some answers. All right, STR preparation. So here it is.
I want to interject and just say that the main reason why you cannot take the STR until you have completed PD3 is because the way the program is set up, you're receiving preparation for that exam all the way up until that time period. But for those of you that may have missed out on the preparation in earlier classes, then you have the opportunity now to complete preparation in one or two ways. One way, as Trine was about to say, is through the free modules in Blackboard. Once you complete them, you'll need to email me both certificates. So it should be 2 certificates that you will find inside of Blackboard that you will need to send to me as PDF documents. If you decide that you would like to do 240 tutoring, that is acceptable as well, but you're only supposed to pick one option, either option 1 or option 2. When doing 240 tutoring, you'll need to take your diagnostic test first at the very beginning, and you're not to repeat it. You'll need to complete all of the modules. Then you'll need to take and pass your practice tests with a score of 90% or higher. There is no more than 3 test attempts for that practice test. But once you get that 90%, you will need to email 240 tutoring for them to send you your certificate of completion, and you will send me your certificate of completion, your practice test results, your study, your progress report, and your diagnostic test scores as well, in order for you to have your documentation complete.
So although option 2 has a price tag and there's a lot that goes on into it, it sounds very comprehensive to me, like that might be very helpful, but I can't speak. I can't tell you one over the other. You have to decide. Now, oh, question come in. Do you recommend one option over the other?
I do not recommend either option, just choose one. I do not have a preference for the options that are available. Each one of them are very comprehensive and effective. We have not had anyone fail the Science of Teaching Reading exam as of yet.
Well, that's encouraging. Thank you for that, Jim. We'll take that. Okay, y'all. So boom, there it is. I hope you took a screenshot, or maybe you'll just wait for us to send it to you at the end. That's fine. If there are no questions in the chat or out loud, we'll move on. Okay, so we're still talking about the STR. So content parts of the core versus Science of Teaching Reading. So I realize this is kind of hard to see, or maybe that's just my eyes on the struggle bus. You will receive this again, but Dr. Lamb, is there any elaboration you want to take on this one?
So the main difference between the Science of Teaching Reading and the core is that the Science of Teaching Reading is one exam by itself. It has 90 questions and 1 constructive response question as well. And like Ms. McGrew stated earlier, it does cost more to take this particular exam. So you still get your 5 hours, but it's just for that one exam. The core itself, the core exam instead is broken up into 5 parts if you're EC6 and 4 parts if it's 4 through 8. And with that, you have to take the English language arts portion, English language arts and reading, mathematics, social studies, science, and then you have to add in fine arts if you're EC6. So that is the main difference between them. So with the core, also you have to get a score of 240 on each section. And then if you're with the STR, you just have to get a composite score of pass as of right now until September 6th, when you will have the score of 240 is the passing score.
Okay, and I know there was a question in the chat. If you care to either respond in the chat or out loud, it's up to you. It was about 4 through 8.
So for the 4 through 8, your number is the 211, but it is still just the core subjects 4 through 8.
Okay, I was just making sure because you'd mentioned the 293 and I almost had a heart attack.
Well, the 293 is your science of teaching reading.
Yeah, and the other one, if someone mentioned like a 391, I was like, wait a minute, did I apply for the wrong one? I was about to shoot myself for that.
No, there's
we're
only
good on
one
that.
4 through 8 exam. The only confusion is for the EC6 people, where there is the 291 and the 391, if they're still testing and started testing with the 291 before the 391 came out.
Roger, Roger.
Okay, Kyle, and I apologize for that, because when I gave the example, I did specifically say 391, and that's for the EC6 candidates. And so for you, I can see why that would throw you off. So I'll take that hit, okay?
No, it's fine. Just wanted to make sure. Never hurts to double check.
Yeah, no, thank you for unmuting and asking. Dr. Lim will ensure that you are applying for the correct exams. Yes, please believe she will. And so if you really look close, if y'all zoom in, and you will have access to this, you'll see the link at the bottom, but it does show you like all the, oh, God bless you. She knows me. I can't see. Yes. Okay, so I put it together. All right, so it shows like how many, your approximate hours that you take on these exams, how long it's broken down, how much time like is a portion for these exams. Y'all get to see, like, these are little nuggets that I stole just so that you could look at it and say, okay, but then see the full detail, go to that website and we will look at it in a little bit, but not right now. And again, to Sharika's point, on the STR side, the fee is $136. Now, y'all know how the government likes to do. They want to up prices every so often, but right now I think that's what it is currently. And Sharika will correct me if I'm wrong. So, and I rely on that.
Well, the amount that she paid is the taxes.
Got you. So yeah, y'all. And of course, this pathways pay, we do, but right. So we'll get to that in a minute. If there are no other questions or comments in the chat, Ms. Tidwell, let's move it. All right, here's another question. Where do we take our exams? How do we find a location to take our exams? I literally got a question today. It wasn't from one of y'all. Are we gonna take our certification exams at UHD? No, ma'am. Okay, let's talk about it. Okay, let's go to the next slide.
Well, I will say this about the UHD comment. You can take them at UHD if UHD is a testing center that is allowing outside people to come in and take the exam. So that is a testing site, but it has been closed because of COVID. So it may be opening up soon. I'm not really sure, but it was a testing center before COVID hit.
Oh, cool. Okay. Well, at least I wasn't wrong in what I said, but it could be coming back. Okay, y'all. So this is the Pearson website for testing locations and a few other things. And I am going to ask Ms. Tidwell to take us to this website. And I'm going to try my best and troubleshoot her through some things, but you know, she's good at this. But I would like y'all to see this because there's so many things on here for you all to just like, wow, this is where I find that. Yep. So give her a minute as she gets her other screens pulled up. All right, so this is the home page, right? And Tan, if you click on the tab above the breadcrumb that says exams, you know what to do. I don't know why I even have to say anything. She's, yeah, go down to, yep. And boom, Dr. Lim, you can talk about it.
Okay, so if you click where it says Bilingual Ed Supplemental for 164, take that back, make it BTLPT. Go back one more and go for the Bilingual Target Language Proficiency Test. And it's gonna be a reason why I'm showing you this one. So we do know that we have bilingual candidates and you have to take the BTLPT. Well, when you're going to this website to find out what are the testing appointments that are available, this one is very limited because there are only 3 testing centers in the Houston area. So if you'll go to where it says check appointment availability under exam dates, click it again where it says TExES 190 at the very top. Just click that exam. Go to next. And just type in the zip code 77002. Now you'll see here that it only has 3 testing centers in the Houston area. There's a 4th one in Beaumont and the 5th one in College Station. So because of that, that is the reason why we allow you to have more than one exam for approval when it comes to that particular exam, because it's limited. If you'll go back to the Pearson website, Ms. Tidwell, that first tab, and go, and now where it says score reporting at and says score report dates, this is also another reason why we allow you to take this exam with another exam, because it takes some time for you to get your scores back. So you'll see that right now we're on May 24th. So if you take your exam today, you will not get your scores back to June 11th. And the next time that we'll get scores back on the BTLPT will be July 9th. So that is the reason why we allow you to take more than one exam at a time if your second approval is for the BTLPT.
So this is extremely important, obviously, for the bilingual candidates, right? Because if if your test results, you said, oh, but I took my test here, that's great, on this date, but your results come in like so much later. So be aware of that as you're approaching certain deadlines, or you're trying to do something. If you want pathways to pay for your regalia, or if you determine like maybe I just need to pay for it on my own. So again, another reason to just be aware.
Also, go back another tile and go to the Science of Teaching Reading exam. So this impacts you all. Scroll down to score reporting for that particular exam. This exam is tested more frequently because the testing windows are more frequent, but it still takes time for you to get your scores back. The reason why it takes time for you to get your scores back on this exam is because of the writing component. So they have to send that off for it to be scored, and it's not just the multiple choice questions that you would find in all of the remainder of the exams. So for that reason, this exam can also be taken with an additional exam as well too. So today we're on May 24th. And if you'll scroll down, you'll see that the scores do not come out until June 11th as well. But the next reporting date will be June 25th. But that's for the May 31st through June 13th time period. So again, we're giving you extra approval if one of the exams is either for the bilingual candidates, the BTLPT, and for the remainder of the candidates, if it is the Science of Teaching Reading exam. But again, you should not wait to get your scores back. You should be trying to go ahead and start preparing for another exam. So the remainder of the test, which will be your core, your PPR, your ESL supplemental, your bilingual ed supplemental, and your SPED test for the SPED candidates, if you take your test between Sunday and Tuesday, it will come out on Friday. If you take it between Wednesday and Sunday, it'll come out on Tuesday. Unless there is a holiday in the middle of it, then it will come out the next reporting date, which will be either that Tuesday or Friday. So we have a holiday coming up this weekend, and it'll be on Monday, the 31st will be a Memorial Day holiday. So scores will not come out on Tuesday. They will not come out until Friday of next week. So that's just another little tidbit and hint for you.
I do have a question on that because I know that you said for approval on tests, we need to schedule it within 3 weeks. What if there's not a test available for a 4th week till the 4th week since our request?
You will need to take it as early as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and we have a question about remediation, but we will get to that. So Angela, hang on to it. Please don't let me forget when we get to remediation. So I appreciate Sabina, your question, and then Angela, your question is. Dr. Lamb, was there anything else you wanted to show on this, or will we move on?
No, I was just showing that, so all of the exams actually have a score reporting date. So you'll be able to see when you have the scores will post for that particular exam.
Okay, and Elizabeth, that question is coming up soon, so don't worry. She did answer it actually just now, but we'll answer that in just a moment. So again, Dr. Lamb, thank you for that. Ms. Tan, take us back to the presentation, ma'am. Give her a minute to get situated. Oh, look at her, she was quick. Okay. Okay, so here are some more questions, and these have to do with test order, test timing, and you'll notice this is part 1. So a lot of questions came in from y'all with these, and I appreciate it. What tests should I take this summer?
Whatever tests are remaining that you need to take and pass.
Yep. All right. Can I take tests over the summer if I'm not in summer classes?
Of course. So long as you're enrolled and admitted into the program, you can take tests.
Excellent. How many tests can we register for at once?
Well, if you're a bilingual candidate, you can register for the BTLPT and 1 additional exam. And for everyone else, which includes the bilingual candidates, you can submit a request for the STR and another exam.
Is it true, which we just answered, that bilingual students can request 2 tests at the same time?
That is true.
When do these tests have to be completed?
Ideally, before you apply for student teaching. So before you apply, which means that we've already passed that deadline, because applications for student teaching should have went out in April and been submitted by that time period. So that's the time period, is before you go into student teaching or even apply for student teaching.
Why do these tests have to be passed before we graduate?
You do not qualify for your certification without passing them. So basically, you end up graduating with a degree without it being worth anything to you because you're not eligible to be certified.
And we'll get into that as we go. All right, next part.
So what does the appeal have to do with the certification exams? Because I know y'all said that we have to have them passed before PD4.
The appeal was to allow you to apply for student teaching without having passed your exams. But that is still the ideal situation, is that you pass your exams before going into student teaching.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And I saw a question in the chat. It says, could it be any 2 exams or just BTLPT and bilingual supplemental? So again, for bilingual candidates, those are the 2.
It will be BTLPT and 1 additional exam.
Thank you.
For the STR, it will be STR and 1 additional exam. But if you abide by the TExES roadmap, that really shouldn't be an option, or you wouldn't need to go that route, because the reason why it is spaced out the way it is spaced out is because you've gotten the information from that particular coursework to take that exam, pass that exam, move on to the next test, so that you will not end up having a bottleneck, which is where some of you may have found yourselves to be at this particular point in time, because now you have to take and pass so many exams as you go into student teaching. Now, when you get into student teaching and you're still taking exams, then you're still taking exams because you have applied for the appeal, you've gotten it approved, and you are allowed to go on into student teaching. But I will tell you this, and I've cautioned everyone, and every year I caution them. Every year they graduate and then they come back and tell me, Dr. Lamb, you were right. I know I'm right. Not only do I know I'm right, but I know I'm right because I used to be a teacher as well. So I do know that when you go into student teaching, it will be extremely hard and extremely challenging to take and pass exams when you're trying to complete student teaching, which means that you will not have time to study, you will not have time to eat, sleep, and do the fun things that you like to do besides going to school, because you do want to have a work or a school life balance. It will be very challenging to do that when you're trying to pass so many exams as you go into student teaching.
I appreciate that insight, Dr. Lamb. And if I can just piggyback and add one other small thing, and I hate to encroach on Dr. Brown's part, but just keep in mind, PD4 candidates, that you start before the semester starts, okay? So you have to report to your district and things of that nature, and I won't get too detailed, but I would venture to say that y'all are working and doing things at least a week, maybe even a week and a half before school even starts for UHD. So that's something you want to keep in mind too, as you're planning on when are you going to take these exams.
Well, you can also find out exactly when school starts by looking at your district calendar. If you apply for Aldine, find Aldine's calendar. The calendar is already out for the fall. So when the teachers report will be when you report. And that will most likely be around the first week or so of August.
Ooh-wee, okay. Moving right along. Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
So how long is the STR going to be pass fail? I know that the that this exam is pass fail right now. So I know some people are saying September, some people are saying July, some people are saying August. So I'm not sure when this test is going to be and is going to stop being pass fail.
Okay. Well, let's not take my answer for a fact. Ms. Tidwell, let's go back to the Pearson website. Okay, if we're on the STR, and if you'll scroll down, and it should be, let's see, it should be on the Pearson website how long it will be a pass fail. So let's see, where would it be found at? Scroll up some more. Oh, here we go. It says must receive a pass fail, but it does not give the date. And I think if they haven't told you on the website, the date is September 6, 2021. Scroll up a little bit more, because I thought it was on the webpage. Maybe it's not. It may be on the TEA webpage. Let me check and see. And then if so, then I'll put the link for that in the chat. But that way you will have that as a go-between, so that you will not have to worry about whether I'm saying something right or something.
While Dr. Lamb is looking, Tam, we'll go back to the presentation and move on to part 2.
Well, actually, I have a follow-up question, but it's more about accommodations. Who would I talk to about that? I mean, I already have my accommodations set forward and everything, and I did them for the core exam, but it was definitely a hassle to try and get those accommodations because I had to call them to schedule my exam, and you know, I wonder if there's a different way to go about that.
That will be a Pearson question, and that's a Pearson process.
Okay.
That isn't a process for UHD.
Yeah, every time I call, it's always, oh, you're 26th in line.
So I am doing a courtesy right now because we are coming up on 5 o'clock. We said 1 hour, and we understand if anyone needs to go at that 5 o'clock time, I can tell you that we will go over. But the information just continues to get, in my opinion, better and better. So I was trying to see if Ms. Tidwell is able to tell us how many slides we have left. Again, if you find yourself in need of, you have to go, we understand. But if you're able to hang on, we appreciate that. And we're sorry for the spilling over, but this is really for you all. Okay. And it's okay. We can, if it's too much, we can just go on to part 2.
I would just have to say It's September 6th is what I have in my head. And if it has changed at all, I will have to let you know once I find something else that says something different.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. I appreciate your question, Alicia. All right, so we will go on. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Tan. All right, so this was one, and I needed to put them side by side, although they're different, because I could see where some confusion can come in. All right, so question, can I submit approval to take another test right after taking a test, even if I don't have the results yet? Dr. Lamb.
So your answer is, if you are waiting for your scores to come back, and one of your exams is for, we'll say, the ESL supplemental, then no, you are not able to submit a request for another exam. If you want to submit it for the STR because you have provided your documentation of your preparation, then you're able to submit it for the STR. Now, if you have failed an exam, you will have to meet with me. You will have to complete your remediation, but you will not have to wait for you to pass that exam before you can go on to another exam and start testing with that one. That will be a personal decision that you will need to make for yourself. Some students want to wait and pass an exam before they move on to another exam. Some students want to just go on and move to another exam. It is up to you. But that is not a UHD rule. I know that's been stated that it's a UHD rule that you have to pass an exam before moving on to another exam, and that is not a UHD rule.
So thank you for that clarification. Again, I wanted everyone to be aware of the differences between the two so that you can know what's coming. And we'll move on.
And I have confirmed that pass failed is until September 6, 2021. So that means that you will need to, who take it on or after September 6 will not be considered a pass fail. It will be a score of 240 in order to pass it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lamb. Okay, so one of the things I wanted us to do was to follow these steps for showing us exactly how to fill out the test approval form. And so for those who are able to hang on here with us, okay, you don't need to announce if you need to go, but you're welcome to send us a direct message in the chat. But Ms. Tidwell, if you don't mind, can you go to the other link I sent you? And I'm just gonna show them real quickly how they go and do this, because we have several candidates that are graduating that have yet to request test approval, and I would like them to be able to see how that's done. For those of you who like, I can do it in my sleep, good, God bless you. Now take those tests, okay? Let's see. So it's just the UHD website. All right, so you will click on academics from the home page. College of Public Service. You will scroll down to the bottom and you will click on in the middle, Education, Bachelor of Art. Oh, scroll back up, I'm sorry. Up, right there. Education, Bachelor of Art in Education with teacher certification. Yep. Then come on down and you see the blue box on the right-hand side. It says TExES certification testing. All right, you click on the, it says right there, you see the question, how do I request exam approval? Click it, come on down, and then boom, it says there's a hyperlink, TExES registration form. Okay. You will fill out every single portion on this. And then I just want you to tan right there where it says, no, come down a little bit. I just want to point this out to Shaylin's question where it says number of tests requested, study program. Where is it? Yes. Test number requested. Thank you. Can you click that? All right, so right here, and Juritsi, we'll get to your question. So this is where I confused Kyle, sorry, but for EC candidates, right? If you're like going for, you know, your core subjects, you see the 391, okay? So just so you know, whatever test you're requesting, you'll look for it here and you'll put it there, okay? So that's how it goes. And of course, fill out every other form and then you submit. Keep in mind, it takes anywhere from a couple of days to a couple of weeks to get approval.
Also, as another little follow-up, you do not need to send me your registration form because you're going to get a copy of what you've submitted, but you should look at what you've submitted to make sure everything is correct, which means making sure that you put in your correct UHD number, your correct TEA number, and use your Gator email address. But you do not need to send me a copy of the registration because I'll automatically get a copy of it anyway. So if you just want to, that's up to you, but that doesn't mean that you should be expecting a response because that's just a copy of what you've submitted. So that's what that is about.
Okay, thank you. And Sharika, before we exit this page, I saw you raise your hand. Did you have a point, ma'am?
Yes, I do. For the students that are submitting this particular form for your exam, this form is for Dr. Lamb. So when you're sending your email showing me that you have gotten approval from Dr. Lamb, please do not send me this form showing that you got approval, because that is not saying that you actually got approval. You are submitting your request.
Thank you, ma'am. So she's not referring to what you just saw. She's referring to what actually comes to you from Dr. Lamb. Okay. And we will, yep, it's there in the newsletter, okay? And you'll see it again in just a moment. Thank you, Tan and Sharika. I appreciate y'all. Teamwork makes the dream work. All right, back to the presentation. All right, so look, this is so important, okay? You have to have 2 proper IDs, okay? When you go to take your exam. So you must bring 2 forms of original and valid identification to the exam administration. They cannot be photocopies, they cannot be digital, they cannot be expired. And both IDs must be printed in English in the name in which you registered. And your identification must contain your first and last name, a recent recognizable photo, or your signature. And then there's a primary ID and a secondary ID. And if Dr. Lamb cares to interject here, feel free.
The only thing I was going to interject about is about the name situation. So when you go into create your account for Pearson, your information is coming from your TEA account. So if your TEA account has your last name as one thing, that's what's going to be shifted over and populated into the Pearson account. And that's how they get that information. So if your ID has you having 2 last names, and that's what you created your TEA account with, then that's what will have to be in your UHD account as well.
Okay, thank you. And I want y'all to note the, I want you all to note the IDs that count as primary, okay? Driver's license, state ID, military, passport, etc. And then secondary ID. So remember, you have to have 2, because I would hate for y'all to get turned away, which has happened, for not having the proper ID, or it's, you know, not within the guidelines of what they say has to happen. And again, this is a state exam. These rules are not just the rules at that particular location. So they can't be held responsible, you know, they are held responsible rather if something is out of order. And I know there's a couple of questions in the chat, but I'm gonna have to let Dr. Lamb answer them in the chat for now so I can move on, unless you feel there's something we need to speak out. But we'll go on to the next slide.
Well, the only thing that I can talk about is they're asking me, do they need to send certificates or anything like that for their test approval? So for you receive the instructions for the STR, so you will need to submit your certificates or your documentation before you can get test approval. For all the other exams, except for PPR, that is the only exam else that needs to get any kind of preparation before you can request test approval. So it's the PPR and the STR, the only exams that you need to do preparation before you request test approval for those exams. Everything else, you can just submit a request for that exam.
Okay, and thank you, Elizabeth, for that question. All right, so talking about Pathways payment, how do we get Pathways to pay? How many exams will Pathways pay for? And does Dr. Lamb need to know we are Pathways when requesting test approval? No, she does not, but let's keep going. So we won't spend a terrible amount of time on this because it's written everywhere. We've sent it in emails, it's in your newsletter. But again, one thing I want to point out, Pathways, we will pay for your first test attempt. Okay, we will pay for your first test attempt for every exam. So for most of you all, that's 5 tests. And then of course, tests must be taken within 3 weeks of receiving approval. Otherwise, your approval will get snatched. Yes, Dr. Lamb will take it back because you haven't tested in a timely fashion. And if you cause us to lose our money, we will pull up on you. No, I'm just playing. But there are some other things that we'll discuss, but not in this setting. And then keep in mind that in the event that you're unsuccessful, we will not cover remediation. Denise, yes, ma'am, you had a question?
Yes, so I requested approval for an exam back in April, but then got wrapped up, you know, finals were coming. Do I have to request approval again?
I was just looking at that. I don't have an approval from you from April.
It was for the PPR.
And it must have been denied or whatever the case may be. I would suggest that you just check your email.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, Denise. All right, we're gonna move. Real quick. So yeah, you've got to send that email to Miss McGrew, as you already know. To be prepared to physically drive downtown. So for our Kingwood students, I know Ms. Tidwell has emphasized that. But when it comes to McGrew, there's something y'all need to know. Okay, we're gonna go to the next slide. Congratulations, Sharika McGrew. Sharika has been our program assistant since 2016. She has been the glue of our program, keeping us all together. Yes. She is a proud graduate of UHD and is a current Panther at Prairie View A&M University. And she recently received a promotion, and we are so proud of her, but we are sad because she's leaving us. We just want to take a moment to recognize Sharika. If y'all don't mind, give her a few reactions in your chat. I'm dropping a heart. Sharika, thank you so much for everything that you've done for us. I won't divulge any of your personal information, but if you would like to unmute for just a moment and say something, feel free, because you have been here. Girl, we're gonna miss you. Thank you for the congrats, y'all. Put them in there, yeah.
Oh, thank y'all so much for the congratulatory emails and texts and everything else. It's been a long journey. I've been with the department, well, with the grant for 4 years, and just excited about all the things that you all are accomplishing, all the things that you all are doing. And, you know, our main goal is to make sure we have successfully certified teachers in the state of Texas. That is the main goal of this grant. And we know that you all are going to be successfully able to be certified teachers in the state of Texas. It may be hard. It may seem like it's, you know, never going to end, but continue to stay focused, continue to keep your hands to the plow, keep going, don't stop, never give up, and you will accomplish your goals. It wasn't easy for me either, going to work full time as well as taking classes full time, but I accomplished it and I did it. So still working on my master's currently, but maybe within 2 semesters, I'll be done with that. And then, you know, who knows what else God has in store for me. But yes, I'm going to miss you all. I'm trying not to cry. Whew, I'm gonna miss all of y'all because it's been a journey, like I said, but I know you all are able to do it. And I know Pathways is gonna make sure you all continue to go forward and do great things. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Sharika. We appreciate you. And so just continuing with what she talked about, you all will move to the next slide. Because, you know, and we got to talk about remediation. Several questions have come up. You're like, what is it? What is the process? Let's go to the next slide. you know, it happens, right? So remediation is simply an act or process of correcting areas of weakness for the purpose of developing mastery in the material. We'll go to the next slide. So sometimes we find ourselves that we haven't been successful in those tests, right? And so when that happens, you need to know what to do, because a lot of your questions have come from this. So Dr. Lamb, I'll give it to you.
So when I get the test scores, I usually get them a little bit before you do. So even though they post for you that night, I have another way of getting them, and I get them that morning. So if I'm available, then I'll send you out an email. The email will the title of it will be Certification Q&A. And in the subject matter, it will tell you this is for us to meet to discuss you retaking that particular exam. So when we have our meeting, then we will look at what you used to study with and how you prepared, and then what you will do going forth in order for you to retake your exam. So there is usually more than one option available, depending upon how many times you've taken your exam and your timing on when you would like to retake your exam. So when we have the meeting, you have to wait at least 30 days before you can retake that exam, which is the reason why I said that you can go on and take another exam. You do not have to wait till you complete your remediation. But Pathways does not pay for your remediation, and remediation is not free. The appointments have been virtual as of today's date, and they will probably continue to be virtual. So you will not need to come to UHD to meet with me in a one-on-one meeting about your testing process and remediation and things like that. But they are found in, you sign up through Sign Up Genius, and then we have a meeting through Zoom. I did have a question about remediation, which was concerning the boot camps. Boot camps are available. But remember, if you take them as a study tool, that is great, but you cannot use it retroactively and apply it to remediation after you've completed it. So boot camp will be available for the core subjects, math, science, and that's EC6, math, science, social studies, fine arts, ESL, BTLPT, bilingual ed, and for the PPR.
Okay, I tried to put all of that in the chat. Hopefully I caught it. If not, you can come behind me. Long story short, she will reach out to you if you are unsuccessful, okay? And Pathways will not cover remediation or the second test attempt. And you do not need to wait the 30-day, right? You have to wait the 30 days, but that doesn't stop you from taking another test, a different test, if you so choose. Moving along. All right, so now here's how it goes, y'all. So you in order to be certified, I think some of us kind of get this mixed up, because you think, oh, okay, I've graduated, right? And I've taken my exams, so I'm good, I'm certified to teach, right? I'm gonna give it to Dr. Lamb, and we will get to y'all's questions in the chat. So just kind of hang on.
So in order to be certified, you have to pass your exams. And that's the reason why we want you to pass your exams before going into student teaching. Then the next thing you must do is you have to graduate. Once your degree has been conferred, I will then pull your scores again, and I will pair it with your degree. You have to pay your fees. You will need to get fingerprinted, and you will have to pass a background check. Now, there are those students that may find that they do not have a Social Security card for whatever reason. I don't know the reasons, I'm not gonna speculate, but you do not have a Social Security card. Well, TEA cannot do a background check on you. And if they cannot do a background check on you, you cannot get fingerprinted and you cannot get certified. That's just the way it is as of right now. So you will have to be able to pass a background check, but in order for them to do the background check, they need the Social Security number, because they do a national check. And of course, you know, there's one Social Security number for every individual person.
Okay, thank you. And I received a question in the chat. It will remain anonymous, but is there anything that happens for students who miss their appointment or their, to go and be certified, to go and take their certification exam, or if they say, oops, I scheduled it for this day, but I need to schedule it for this date, and then oops, I need to reschedule it for another date?
Okay, so if you schedule your test date and you forget what test date you scheduled it for, and you miss your appointment, and Pathways has paid for it, Pathways loses their money. Now, if you remember at least 48 hours before to take your exam that something has come up and you're not able to take it, then you're able to go in and reschedule it and push it out. But again, if you're not taking it in a timely fashion, that can be another issue or another problem, because as you see, some of these exams, it takes some time before you get your scores back. So if you're waiting on these scores to post for you to get your regalia paid for, then that's putting you in a bind. So I always say, never wait and select the latest test date. Always select the earliest test date, because you never know what's going to happen on that date. Like last week, we had it pouring down raining on Wednesday and everything went online at UHD. Well, if you had a test scheduled that day and if you could not get out of your house because you didn't have any power or electricity, then, but you also, schedule your test for the last day of the 3-week time period, then you're now putting yourself in jeopardy by not being able to have time to reschedule and move your test date around.
Kind of reminds me of a flight. Like if you take the last flight of the night, you risk, something happening, and now you got to stay until the next. You're not gonna put me in a hotel? I got to sleep in the airport? Yeah. So please don't be that person, y'all. Okay, moving right along. And we're getting there. I don't want y'all to give up. So as you see, and
I have a quick question.
Yeah, come on.
So so right now I'm going in tomorrow to schedule my STR, and next week I'm going on a mission trip, so I won't be able to take it next week. But they have a time slot available for the 24th of June. Is it possible to move it up? Like, let's say, like I come back from my mission trip, and that same week, like the week that I come back for that Friday, there's like a testing date available. Is it possible to move up to that date, or it can only be pushed back?
It's possible to move anything up. Again, I mean, when it comes down to it, and the test, or especially like the STR and the BTLPT, those tests are tests that are found where everybody's got to take them, or is very limited in their offerings. So for the BTLPT, it's very limited because it's only offered in 3 testing centers in the Houston area. And for the STR, it's offered more frequently, but everybody has to take it. So everybody that's core subjects EC6 and 4 through 8 and SPED have to take this exam. So we're not talking about just UHD students competing with the testing centers. We're talking about UHD, TSU, U of H Maine, U of H Clear Lake, U of H Victoria. I mean, everybody is taking these exams. So that's the reason why you may have a hard time finding a testing center for those reasons.
Yeah, no, I was just wondering if it's possible to get like I said, schedule it on the 24th, but something comes up for the 16th and I can move it up to the 16th of June.
You can move it up if you would like. Okay. So I had a question about the STR. Again, in order for you to get test approval for the STR, you have to either complete the UHD modules, or you will need to do 240 tutoring. The course that is being offered this summer will not be used for your preparation for the STR. And it cannot be used for preparation for the STR. Even though it is listed with the boot camp, it cannot be used as your preparation. So it will not stand in the place of completing your STR preparation. So you will have to complete either 240 tutoring or the UHD modules.
Thank you. So we can actually go on to the next slide, because y'all are here, y'all are graduating PD4. So point is, take your exams. The future is waiting on you. Okay, we need y'all to do it. Let's go to the next slide. Now, this is where we're gonna take questions. I know that there are a couple in the chat directed to Dr. Lamb. If anyone needs to go, I mean, you're welcome to go, or you're welcome to hang out with us and ask a few more questions. I think we've got Dr. Lamb for a little bit more time, but I do want to say thank you on behalf of Ms. Bergen, Ms. Sharika McGrew, Tan Tidwell, and myself, I would like to say thank y'all for joining us. I would like to recognize Samantha Hurt, because if I'm not mistaken, she's attempted all of her exams. We won't talk about status or anything, but you know, that's great. And so we just really want to recognize you for that and say thank you. Yes, Denise, her point, we will be uploading this to our YouTube page. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, as Tan would say. We want to make sure that y'all are staying in the loop with what we have. Questions at this point, anything we may have missed in the chat, feel free to unmute and talk. I'm going to go on mute.
Well,
I have a
just wanna
question.
address a few of the questions that are found in the chat. One is, are the boot camps virtual? Yes, they are. The boot camps are virtual. Would the boot camp benefit 4 through 8 ESL students? Yes, it would, if you're willing to pay the money. It is $60 for each of the sessions. So it's found in a 4-group session. So if you're taking it for study purposes, then you do not have to attend all 12 hours. But if you're doing it for remediation, you will need to complete all 12 hours. The question was, what is the furthest that a student can drive to take an exam? That's between you and the God you serve. And I'm not watching your mileage, so you shouldn't be watching mine, meaning you can go take them in another state if you would like to. Or you can even go take them in Mexico if you need to take them in Mexico, because they are offered in Mexico and I think Puerto Rico too.
Okay, I had a question to come up about the appeal form that was mentioned earlier. So the students right now have filled out that appeal so that they could go into PD4 without having passed all of their exams. I'm trying to see, the question is, are we required to submit that if we don't pass all exams before going in PD4? Are we required to submit it if we don't pass all of our exams before going into PD4? Well, we want you to submit it proactively for those who haven't done it at all yet. So, and that should have been done by now, or I imagine you might still be able to submit it, but please go, I don't know. We can't speak on that.
That's a thing that should have been taken care of like February, March, April at the latest, because Dr. Bernez Sanchez has already made her decision about that. The question for me was about remediation for science for the certified teacher. Because I have administrative access, you do not need to send me anything.
I'm sorry, my phone was kind of glitching. Did you say that we don't need to submit anything for remediation for the supplemental?
I said, if you're using certified teacher for your remediation, you do not need to send anything because I have administrative access.
Oh, awesome. Okay, thank you.
So anyone's welcome to unmute or to drop their questions in the chat. And again, you are welcome to leave if you feel like you are complete. I think I see some messages coming in here. It says, I
took the core and have to retake it. Then how you will need to submit your request for test approval was sent in your email after we had our conversation, which was our Q&A. So in that email, it gives you instructions on how to request test approval again in the future.
Gabby, I'm not sure if Denise wants to take this question, but as far as joining the National Honor Society, I don't know that that will have an effect on your pathways eligibility.
No. At one point, certain organizations had specific classes that they have to take, and I think that was Honors College. And I know for our students that were still taking core classes, we had pathways assigned courses, and that was where the conflict was. But no, you're more than welcome to join the National Honor Society. I think it'll be a great thing for you. We just ask that you continue to do the things that we ask as pathways participants, meaning meeting with your advisors, Ms. Sharvis and Ms. Tidwell, attending the workshops, attending the orientation, going to study groups, going to study sessions, using the tutoring center. So these are the things that when you first came in, we had you sign on your agreement of the things that you can do to be a Pathways participant. So none of what we ask is going to really be a conflict for you in Honor Society, so you should be fine.
I received another question, which was they've submitted a request for test approval and they have not heard from me. Well, you haven't heard from me for more than one reason. If there's only one of me and there's a lot of y'all. So it takes me a lot longer to process requests nowadays, especially when I have to go in and manually process the request. So it can take up to 2 weeks. And because it can take up to 2 weeks, you will just have to be patient and patiently wait until I send out a response to you. Just be mindful that when you submit the request, the 2 weeks do not include the weekends and holidays, because I don't work on the weekends, and at least I try not to work on the weekends and holidays. But also just make sure that you have, if you received a copy of the registration form in your email after you submitted it, then you will know that I have received that particular registration form. So trust and believe it will get processed as soon as I possibly can.
Again, feel free to unmute if you have questions, drop them in the chat. We really appreciate you all's time. Thank you so much for staying over. It's just kind of hard sometimes to put a time limit on good information. So any questions that maybe we didn't answer in the presentation that just needs to come out? Okay, well, I guess if there's nothing else, check your emails from us. You still have to apply for graduation in July, so there's still lots of information we'll be sending your way. Denise, or Ms. Tidwell, Sharika, anybody have anything they need to add before we go ahead and close out the meeting?
I just want to add really quickly, since Samantha is my student, y'all forgive me, my kids are in the background, work with me. I know that Treem recognized her, and I just wanted to recognize her as her advisor, that she has worked extremely hard this entire semester while working with her own children at home, working with classmates. She tutors classmates with study materials and with exam prep. She has completed all of her certification exams, and she will be graduating certified. So if you are looking for a study partner, please reach out to Samantha. She is fantastic. We are going to start a study prep group, and she is going to lead that. So we are excited. I just want everyone to put congrats, Samantha, and y'all keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a wonderful job. Treem, this was a fantastic orientation. Dr. Lamb, thank you for all the answers. Denise, Sharika, I see you getting that master's degree, girl, ow, okay? Saw you with your little hand on your hip, ow. But I just wanted to say that this was awesome, and I'm glad that everyone was able to attend and get all your questions answered.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Lamb, as well. Thank you, everybody. And that's it. Y'all have a good one.